My name is Stephen Baskerville. I'm Associate Professor of Government at Patrick Henry College. I'm also the author of a recent book on the family policy, Taken into Custody. Right here. The War Against Fathers, Marriage, and the Family, a book that will give you a slightly different view of the family crisis than you perhaps have heard before. I myself am a student of government and politics, and as is perhaps appropriate to the theme of this panel, it is as a student of government and politics that I want to welcome you here today and make a few opening remarks before we begin. I realize that we are asked to accentuate the positive here at the World Congress of Families, and I will do so in a moment. But I must also begin by observing that the family crisis is in many ways more extensive than even family defenders often realize. Threats to the family today do not come simply from impersonal forces, and they cannot be addressed simply by moralistic preaching or psychotherapeutic methods alone. The deterioration of our culture is very critical and important, but we have moved beyond that. Today, the family is threatened by specific government policies, policies that are driven by radical political ideologies, policies that destroy not only families, but freedom. As long ago as 1933, Christopher Dawson was arguing that the family was in serious decline, with parallels from Greece and Rome. In 1947, Harvard sociologist Carl Zimmerman elaborated in his book Family and Civilization. Both Zimmerman and Dawson stressed that the family had been declining, in fact, for centuries, and that it was reaching the point of no return. And both emphasized the role of the state, the role of government. Carl Zimmerman in particular, emphasized an inverse relationship between the strength of the family and the strength of the state. In other words, he argued that as the state increases in power, the family weakens. And as the state loses power, when the state becomes weak for whatever reason, the family becomes stronger. In yesterday's session, Michael Ferris argued that no society that gives a government a monopoly over the instruction of children can be considered a free society. Those are my words, paraphrasing his statement. But I want to expand that principle briefly beyond the realm of education to say that no society that gives ultimate control over children to the state rather than their parents can be considered a free society. G.K. Chesterton once argued that the family is the main check on state power, and he argued that weakening the family would weaken freedom. Chesterton was writing about divorce. And a critical difference between today's debates on the family and those in Chesterton's day and those of Zimmerman and Dawson is the way that they approach the now neglected issue of divorce. The central indicator through most of modern history, whenever issues of family or marriage arose until recently, and today the most direct cause of family breakdown is still divorce. Today we see a vindication of Chesterton's prophecy. As divorce destroys the family, it is also destroying, and other factors as well, it is also destroying freedom. In the name of divorce and divorce-related pretexts, we are now seeing the massive destruction of not only the family, but freedom itself. This is most advanced, ironically, in the most freedom-loving country on earth, the United States, but it is rapidly spreading throughout the Western world. Mass arrests are now taking place in the United States. Mass incarcerations without trial. Forced confessions, the forced separation of children from their parents, the use of children as informers against their parents, wholesale expropriations of the property of parents, law-abiding parents, and many more violations of the most basic liberties that we in the West have taken for granted for centuries. As I say, these are now routine in the United States and taking place elsewhere, and I've documented this in my book, and I can show you the documentation if anyone is interested. We've reached the point today where divorce has become a euphemism for unprecedented government invasion of private life, as innocent Americans find their families taken over and themselves criminalized. In the name of divorce, legally unimpeachable citizens, parents, convicted of no crime, charged with no legal infraction, parents, citizens sitting in their own home, minding their own business, are summoned to court and subject to repressive measures never before seen in the United States. No one denies that these measures are taking place, but they are simply rationalized by euphemisms taken from the jargon of family law. Parents in America are ordered out of their homes under the name of divorce. Parents are told they may not see their children upon pain of incarceration. Children are summarily removed from their parents with no evidence of wrongdoing. Parents find their property, including their homes, summarily confiscated. Parents are summarily ordered to pay huge sums to officials they have not hired for services they have not received or sought on pain of incarceration. Parents are handcuffed and forcibly removed from their homes, separated from their children, without being formally charged with or tried for any crime. Parents are summarily ordered to pay staggering sums which they have never agreed, assign debts they did nothing to incur, and their wages are confiscated, again on pain of incarceration. Parents in America are jailed without trial. Parents, we have documented cases of parents being beaten in police custody. We have parents being ordered on pain of incarceration not to speak to the media about these abuses that I've outlined. I repeat, all of these measures are now routine in the United States, and no one denies that they are taking place. What is most astonishing is the absence of any opposition or outcry or media attention. We hear a lot about human rights in Europe and elsewhere in the world, but until we face these violations of the most basic human rights, I fear that our professed concern will ring hollow. Now for the positive side. Whenever Americans, Englishmen, Frenchmen, or others in the Western world have seen their liberties threatened or curtailed in the past, they have unfailingly mobilized in the most courageous way to defend their freedom, not hesitating to risk and to sacrifice their lives for their families, their countries, and their liberty. We in the pro-family movement have had difficulty mobilizing an active response in the name of saving the family. Perhaps we might be more successful in the name of saving our freedom.